stories that connect us to ourselves and each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid, wild colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. And now, exclusively on KGRA Radio, I give you your host for Soul Wanderings Radio. Here's AJ.
Hello, happy day, friends. It's Soul Wanderings night. We receive an opportunity to hear journey stories from humans from all walks of life, all types of experiences, and these humans show up to share authentic pieces of themselves with all of us. I am AJ Rasmussen, your host. Hello, hello. It's fantastical being here with you tonight. It's my favorite night of the week. I always say that, and I always mean it. You know, I just love our hangout together, hearing all kinds of topics that relate to our experiences, all of our human experiences, and tonight is no exception. How many of you have had a paranormal experience? That is what we are talking about tonight. It's definitely one of my favorite topics, and I'm really looking forward to wandering with our guests this evening. If you're listening live with us, we have a chat room you can hang out in. It's hosted here on the station, kgraradio.com. And you'll want to be in there with us. You'll want to log in if you want to chat with other listeners during the show, or if you have a guest or a question for our guest, that's where you'll want to be, because that's where we grab your questions. I have these awesome producers along with myself that will grab your questions and we'll ask our guest as long as time allows. So make sure you hop on in there. That's kgraradio.com. Tonight we have this amazing, fabulous opportunity to wander with June Lundgren. She's a psychic medium, animal communicator, healer, nurse, demon seer, international paranormal investigator, and an author with over 40 years of experience in the paranormal field. She's been communicating with spirits, animals, and angels since she was a child. She's written 8 books, including a children's book, all on the paranormal. She is currently the founding member of ghostsandgirlsparanormal.com, where alongside a group of women, they investigate and assist in paranormal activity in your home or on your land to bring you balance of peace and harmony alongside the spirit world. However that ends up looking like. We'll hear all about it. Tonight we'll be discussing topics relating to the darker side of paranormal and getting to know June on a more personal level. It is Soul Wanderings after all. Please welcome to the show, June Lundgren. Hello, June.
Hello.
Nice. How are you this evening?
I'm good.
Good. I've really been looking forward to our time together.
You may regret that.
We're gonna need the sound up. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Oh, there you are. You are so far away.
Oh no.
Introductions are great. I like that we can give like a little basis of who you are, but that never really explains completely. You have a lot of titles. You've played a lot of roles. But coming from your words and your perspective, who are you? Would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
I've been a psychic medium all my life, and I've been able to see the dark ones in their true form, which not too many people do. And it's always been a part of me. My grandmother raised me, she was a psychic medium, and she taught me most of the basic stuff. But Michael the Archangel has been with me throughout my entire lifetime, and he did a lot of teaching after she died. And when I was small, he said, I want you to look and watch the demons. He says that, that's going to be important for when you grow up, and you don't need to be afraid of them because, I'll protect you. And so I made a study all the time I was growing up of negative entities. I would see them. I would watch how they work. I would listen to them. And over the years, I got to know how they function, what their reasoning is, why they pick a person to attach to, why they pick a particular location to attach to. It's quite interesting. I grew up and went into the military for 5 years, from 1976 until 81 when I got out. And during that time, I kind of kept it to myself because, it wasn't a done thing back then. And my godfather, who was a bird colonel in the OSI, said, you need to not tell people about that, because at the time they were doing experiments using people with strong ESP abilities. Mm-hmm. So I kind of kept it to myself, and people would come to me by word of mouth, and I would help them. I never did anything with demons really until I died in 1988. Is when I died in a motorcycle accident. I was heading home, and a car ran into me, and I ended up dead for a couple of minutes. And when I went to the other side, my grandparents were there waiting for me, and Michael was there, and he says, you have to understand that this was always meant to happen, because you need to wake up. You need to understand who and what you are. And I said, I'm just me. And he's like, no, you're a bit more than that. And he took my hand and went over to like a bay window. And he said, look at the people down there. So I could see every living person on the earth. And he said, you see those strings that are coming up from them? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, some are lit up and some are not. The ones that are lit up are the people that have made the soul connection. So the others have yet to do that. And I said, well, if heaven is real, what about hell? And he motioned me over to another area, and he waved his arm, and this black pit opened up with horrible screaming and people reaching up, and then he closed it. I said, oh, okay, I guess hell does exist. And he's like, yeah. He says, you need to understand why you're here in this lifetime. And he touched my forehead, and in a matter of moments, I relived all of the 131 lives that I've lived in the physical world. And then when that was over, he said, look at yourself. And I looked down at myself, and I didn't look like me. I was about 7 feet tall. I had wings. I had reddish gold hair and green blue eyes. He says, this is who you really are. He says, this is a representation of who you really are. He said, your soul is Ariel the Archangel. And he said, you were sent back to learn to have compassion for mankind. You didn't care about man. You didn't care what happened. You had no compassion, no thought for them. And I said, well, why? And he said, because you've been up here too long. You've been here for hundreds of thousands of years, and you've forgotten what it feels like to have compassion and to love. And so he said, that's why you're sent back. And now you're going to start doing what you've always been meant to do. And that's, demonic removal. He said, you're in the middle of spiritual warfare. This is something that you need to continue to do. Now you have the weapons. Now you know who you are. And then he sent me back, and I woke up with a police officer standing over me, very relieved that I was alive. And I didn't even know who Ariel was. So I did some research online, and I'm like, okay, so Ariel, there's little known about her other than the fact that her name means Lion of God, and she is one of the five that guard the throne of God. And besides that, not much else. And a lot of people think that Uriel and Ariel are one and the same, but they're not. They're two different ones. I was having issues trying to figure out what I was supposed to do because, I hadn't a clue. I said, "You didn't give me a manual. What am I supposed to do?" And he says, "You'll understand. It just takes time." So it was a few months later, and I got a call from my sister-in-law, and she told me that there's something wrong with your brother. His eyes are turning black, and he has this horrible, nasty look about him, and his voice isn't his own. And I'm like, oh, right. She said, "Can you come down?" So I said, "Okay, I'm going to come down." I said, "But I want you to call me when he gets home, but don't let him know that you're calling me, because that would make the demon aware."
Mm-hmm.
And so she rang the phone once, so that way I knew that he was home. And I asked Michael, I said, "What do I do?" He said, "Just park in front of the house." I'm like, "Okay." He says, "Get out of the car." And he said, "I want you to call the demon to you." I'm thinking to myself, are you out of your mind? And
Right.
he's like, and he could hear that, of course. And he's like, no, you'll see. And I'm like, okay, I'm trusting you. So I called the demon to me, and it came out through the wall of the house. And as it got closer and closer, it was calling me all kinds of nice names and everything. I could understand it. They speak in Aramaic, but my brain is hardwired to understand what they're saying. And it gets about 5 feet away from me, and then Ariel comes forward. It's the first time I'd ever experienced it. I could feel my consciousness slipping to the back, and I could see and hear and feel everything that she felt. And she basically told the demon, "You're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know who you're dealing with. I'm going to kill you." And she reached out and she grabbed the demon by the throat. And Michael and Gabriel grabbed it and sent it back down into the darkness. And then once they did that, Ariel's consciousness retreated. And it's like, "You tricked me." I told him, I said, "You guys tricked me." And he said, "Well, sometimes you got to be thrown into the fire." He said, "I couldn't explain to you what would happen." He said, "You wouldn't understand. You had to experience it to understand." And I'm like, "Really? Next time, say something, little forewarning would be nice." But he's like, "No,
How
I
do
don't
you
think
warn
so."
someone about that?
That's exactly what he was thinking. So it's like, that was my first real experience with getting rid of them and having her come forward. And I was doing it for years before somebody told me, you do realize that, you change when she comes forward. I'm like, A, I'm a little busy. B, I don't have a mirror. And C, I don't care. And they said that my eyes turn white and my face looks about 20 years old. The voice changes, and some people actually see wings coming out of my shoulders. So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever you say.
So she's using your body as a conduit. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, that's what she's doing.
Mm.
And Michael decided one day it would be better if I could hear her thoughts all the time and she could hear mine. And I'm like, "Well, how are you going to do that?" And he's like, "You'll see." So he did what he called a merge, so that I can hear her thoughts, I can see what she sees, and she can see what I see without my consciousness having to be shoved to the back, which really comes in handy because, you don't always like to have that happen. It took me a while to get the knack of it, especially being she was like gung-ho. She liked, the minute she sensed a negative entity nearby, she would try to come forward. And we had to sit down and have a nice long talk about that. You can't be doing that stuff. If I'm at work, if I'm,
Setting some
out with
boundaries.
people, or I had to set boundaries.
Yeah.
And it took her a while because she's so used to just reacting and doing, that it was hard for her. And Michael sat down and had a talk with her as well. And, he says she has to live in the physical world. You don't, but she does. So there are some boundaries. There are some things you can do that you can't do. And so I've been doing that ever since. Long time.
Yeah, that is
and people, people tell me, where were you when this first happened to me? I've been searching for somebody for years to help. I've had people that have had attachments for years and years, and they finally find me, and it's like, thank you. I've had an issue with, the paranormal community is cool and all that, and I have a group, but I specialize in negative entity stuff. I mean, I do the regular stuff as well, but I'm the one that they go to find, if somebody has a negative entity or they suspect it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have the ability, simply by talking to a person or seeing a picture of a location or an individual, to see what is there. See whether it's just a regular spirit or whether it's a demon. I found out over the years that, people don't come to me unless they have a demon. It's like that, and I asked Gabe about that.
Well, that's what you're known for, yeah.
Yeah, I asked Gabe before it was even known for that. It's like people are coming. I asked Gabe about that, and he says it's because their guides and their guardians are kind of like playing chess. They're getting these people to the right place at the right time to find you. He says that's how we work it, so that people can get help. I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I guess
I believe that. I believe that's how it works.
No,
I think it's neat though how well, I feel like we're all divinely guided to meet and be placed in front of certain people for certain lessons and experiences anyway.
Yeah, there's no such thing as coincidence.
No.
Everything happens for a reason. Either you're supposed to be with that person for a certain amount of time to learn something, experience something, and then move on. It's not about, why couldn't I stay there, or why do I have to be here? It's always for a reason. We may not understand or know the reason, but afterwards you look back and you say, oh, okay, that's the reason I was there. That's why I did this. That's why I did that.
I believe that.
It's it's kind of like my husband. He's agnostic, and he never had seen anything paranormal before we met. And I really didn't tell him anything about what I can do until I was in my 9th month of pregnancy with our son. And I said, you know what? I said, this is what I can do. And this is what I do. And what's in my stomach, I said, it's probably going to be able to do the same thing. I said, you might as well get used to it. And he's like, looks at me like, okay, whatever. Like he didn't care one way or another, right? And then he saw, I told him, I said, you don't, if you can't touch it, feel it, or see it, it doesn't exist, right? And he said, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. I said, okay, don't be surprised if you see it. And my grandmother showed up one night. She walked down the hall, stared at him, turned around and walked away. And then the next morning he says, what were you doing? What did you want? So what are you talking about? He said, you stood at the edge of the living room and you just looked at me and you turned around and walked away. I said, was I wearing glasses? And he's like, yeah. I said, that's not me. I said, it's my grandmother. She's the one who was visiting last night. And he's like, no, it was you. I said, listen. So I went and got a picture of her. I said, hello? We look a lot alike. And he's like, I don't want to see that. And then another time we were sitting in the living room, and we have like a passway between the kitchen and the living room, so you can talk and stuff. And he looked over at me and said, Ray, it's my son. And I said, Ray's downstairs. He's not up here. He's like, then I won't tell you what I saw.
So him seeing different apparitions or whatnot, has it changed his belief system at all?
Not in the way that he believes in a higher power. That's what agnostic people do. He just
Right,
doesn't give it a name. But he's seen a shadow person. We were down at our timeshare one time, and I was upstairs and he was downstairs, and I felt something negative come in, and I hear him bellowing. So I run downstairs, and here's the shadow person, and my husband's pointing at it and says, "What is that?" And then it shot out through the French doors. And I told him, "That, my dear husband, is a shadow person. Welcome to my world."
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't want to see that anymore." I'm like, "Good luck."
Do you feel like once you start seeing them, you'll always see them? Or is it situational based on what you're going through in life?
I think once you see them, you'll always see them.
Mm.
It's like he says, my son asked him one time, "What do you think about mom, what mom does?" And he says, "I may not believe the same as your mom does." He says, "But I've seen the good she does, and I'll support her in every way I can."
Aw,
Which is nice,
it is very nice.
considering he doesn't believe in it.
Yeah, I mean, well, once you see something, it's pretty hard to say you don't believe in it anymore.
Yeah, but he likes to. He's in denial, After 30,
I mean, that
after
happens.
32
It
years,
really
he's in
does.
denial.
I actually have shared on the show before. I started seeing shadow people when I was in the first grade.
Mhm.
And it was around the time that I had experienced some trauma in my life, and they started coming around. But I
Yeah.
was never fearful of them, and I always felt like they were protecting me. And
True
I
shadow
saw them.
people do not protect.
What's that?
True shadow people do not protect. It may
Well,
have been a spirit in the guise of a shadow person. They can do that as well, and they can make themselves look like a shadow person. I
was never
one.
scared, so
Yeah, because you had protection.
interesting.
You had a guardian angel that was very strong, and she still is very
I
strong.
believe that. I believe that.
So she kept them at bay. She kept them from hurting you or bothering you too much. So which is always a good thing. It's like Michael did with me. He I could see them. He says, "But they can't see you." He says, "I'm not letting them see you. When it's time, when you're strong enough, then I'll let them see you, but not until then." So I was about 10 years old when they first started seeing me.
Mm-hmm.
But they really didn't bother me because I wasn't afraid of them. They didn't bother me probably because Michael was always around one way or another. But my grandmother, she had her encounters with the demon. She grew up in Atchison, Kansas, and it's a very haunted town. And she's seen her share, but she didn't have the abilities I had. She told me before she died that, there was family prophecy that a child would be born with the ability to see, hear, understand, and remove demons. It would be a female child. And it was handed down from the 14th century on. And each female handed it down to the next one. And she said, "And you're the one." She said, you will be far stronger than I ever was." And she's still with me. Unfortunately, she's watching out for my brother. There are some kids that never grow up, and that's my brother.
Yes, that is very true.
Yeah,
that is
always
very
in trouble.
True.
Yeah.
Well, and she obviously knows that you're being well taken care of and watched over with Michael.
Oh yeah, she's talked to Michael all the time I was growing up because he was always there. And
did you have a relationship with him from the very beginning, from a very young age?
Yeah, she said that the first time she saw Michael was when I was a baby, and he was standing over the crib.
Aww.
Watching. And the animals would come, and they'd sit under the crib, lay under the crib. And it was like they were listening to me. And even though at that young, I'm sure I didn't know what it was, but, she said, "They've always listened to you." So I like animals more than people.
Yes, you are an animal communicator as well. Yes.
Yep. I like animals better than people. Animals
I
don't have our
blame you.
baggage.
I do not blame you on that one.
At one time I had 8 dogs. I have
Oh,
a
wow.
farm. So I had a couple of Dobermans and a Shepherd and a Border Collie and a Cocker
Oh,
Spaniel and Springer, and they all
animals
got
are
along
so
peacefully.
amazing. So
Yeah.
amazing. Such healers too.
They are.
You know
They are.
all of this, but
They know you. They know when you're hurting. They know
Mhm.
when you're happy. They know when you need comfort, and they're always there.
Mhm. Yeah, I love our furry little friends.
Yeah, I have a couple of pit bulls. They're 2 years old. They're sisters, and they're the reincarnation of my 2 Dobermans that were sisters. Same mannerisms, same body structure. They even answer to the names.
Oh, wow.
So I knew they were back. I knew I'd find them
Yes.
eventually.
Isn't it? They're your soul family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
always with me. I feel that if you love them and take care of them and treat them well, they'll come back over and over again.
Mm.
And they have in my lifetime. I had a Doberman that was what they call a gladiator Doberman. He was 6 foot from nose to tail and 200 pounds.
Oh, wow.
But he was a gentle soul. And he lived to be 12, which is old for a Dobie. But when he died, before he died, he told me, "I'm coming back, Mom." I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
And he did come back as a 19-pound Cocker Spaniel with an attitude.
Imagine that.
I know. He thought he was still his big size.
I love that story. It's quite an introduction you have, and I'm excited to branch off from what you've shared already. We're going to take our first break for the show, and when we get back, we're going to learn more about June and the dark side of paranormal. So stay close. We'll be right back.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath, no garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. 1 Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves. Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
The Liberator Rocket Heater will heat your home for free. The highly efficient Liberator Rocket Heater has no moving parts. It's safe and strong, constructed of 1/4-inch steel. So like all things made in the USA, it's built to last. Uses any kind of wood, sticks, even scrap in its gravity-fed firebox. And it heats workshops, homes, garages, outbuildings, industrial areas, and barns. Watch the video of this blast furnace stove in action. Visit RocketHeater.com. That's RocketHeater.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Mainstream media's most wanted. KGRARadio.com.
Welcome back to Soul Wanderings here on KGRARadio.com. I am AJ Rasmussen, your host, and tonight we are soul wandering with June Lundgren. She's a psychic medium, animal communicator, a healer, nurse, demon seer, and international paranormal investigator. Oh, and she's an author too. That's quite the list there, miss.
I try to stay busy.
I can tell. That's a lot of things. And you're a founding member of Ghosts and Girls Paranormal.com, which I want to hear more about that.
I started the group because I was a member of a different group, Northwest Paranormal Investigative Team. But what I did, my specialty was darker. And I didn't feel that it was right to involve them in that sort of a thing when they don't have the ability to see any of that or do anything about that. And I didn't want to take the chance of having an attachment to them. There's only two of us in the group, me and a friend of mine, Wendy, that I've been training. She can see them as like a shimmer rather than the whole entity, which is fine. You know, she's the diplomat because when Ariel comes out, we get to a location, Ariel comes forward right away. There is no talk with her. She's like heads right towards where the demon is. And poor Wendy's bringing up the rear, trying to be diplomatic and explaining what's going on. Because Ariel has little time for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's neat to have a partnership also, just, because you both have different gifts and different abilities. And if you see something or she sees something, just having the validation that it was really happening helps.
Yeah. She's more empathic, and I shut that part down because when you're dealing with these negatives, you can't be feeling those things.
Right. You can't be open to the vulnerabilities.
No, you can't have any weaknesses. If you have a weakness, they'll know about it and they'll take advantage of it, and you're screwed.
Mm-hmm. You brought up, I was going to say they will feed on that, but you brought up earlier when you were talking about your brother how you didn't want to make the demon aware that you were on the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they know. It's kind of like, as long as, it's funny thing is, demons are kind of like a lot of people. They look on the surface. They don't look below the surface to see what's inside. So that's where I have the advantage when I go to a location, is the fact that, I just have to say it because demons are stupid. They are very stupid. The ones that run around.
Well, they're such a low vibration.
But the old demons are quite intelligent. But we're not worth their time and energy to come here about unless they have a specific agenda. But what I call the lesser demons are the younger ones. They're kind of like hormonal teenagers. They're, running amok and causing problems. So they don't look any deeper. So that's when, they get a big surprise, and they're not happy when they get it because, they fear her. They know who she is and what she is. Just like Michael and Gabe, they fear all of them. And people don't understand that they've been on the other side for hundreds of thousands of years. And it's been a long time since they've had a human body. So they know the concept of love. They know the concept of fear, of worry, but they do not know the emotions that go with them. And that's one of the things that Ariel has been accomplishing with each lifetime, that she's lived. She's come back, and she's helped them to understand the feelings. They hold hands, and she can transfer all the feelings so that they understand what it is, what man's going through. And it's very good for them to understand, that humans have these feelings, what they feel like, and why we sometimes become desperate.
Mm.
And it's quite interesting because they were quite clueless. Most of them are, but that's okay. You have to learn sometime.
Well, how do they come about though? Like, do they just form? Are they? You said that they used to be human.
They
Like,
did.
how did they
were.
become demons?
Okay, billions of years ago, we had physical form on another planet, and what the entity that we call God, or the great consciousness, he's the one who found them. He basically found their planet. He helped them to get rid of war, of famine, of illness, and led them in the pursuit of knowledge and a way to make things better for everyone. And over the years, we evolved into pure energy. And we had to wait. Michael says we had to wait till we had everybody with us because we couldn't leave anyone behind. So once everyone evolved into pure energy, we traveled. We traveled everywhere as a group to all the galaxies, everywhere that we could travel. We did. And we were happy with that for, a long time. And then there came a time when they want, when the soul said, listen, I want to have a physical body. I want to know physical love. I want to have children. I want to actually experience life as a physical being again. And there arose a division between the souls. Lucifer and his followers said, you know what? No, it's not happening. We do not want to be subject to growing old, pain, infirmity, disease. We don't want any of that happening. And he was saying, God's trying to make us do that. And God said, I'm not making you do it. You can do it if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine with me too. But he stirred up the trouble and said, he's making us do this, and so that's where the division arose, and the fight was pretty bad. And once it was over, Lucifer was disarmed by Michael, and Ariel disarmed his son, and they were brought before God. And God said, you know what? I'm going to give you exactly what you want. You're never going to be able to take on physical form again. And they were happy with that. They're like, great, we don't want it. But you can't live among us. Said because, again, there would be more distinction. Mm-hmm. So he opened up a rift into a dark dimension, and he put them in there and sealed it up. And for a while there, they were fine. Yeah, we can do whatever we want here. We don't have to worry about anything. But over time, they grew angry and resentful, and all they wanted was revenge. So they found ways to get into our world through portals, either portals that they created, which they can do, portals that humans in our stupidness open. When we summon a demon. Oh, let's summon a demon. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that sounds like fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, so they open a portal, but they don't close it. It's like, really, get a clue here. You have to close it. But they don't. 9 times out of 10, the portals will remain open. The doorways will remain open. It's kind of like reading tarot cards. That opens a portal. Doing the reading opens a portal. Doing a paranormal investigation opens a portal. It's all about closing it. Mm-hmm. Most people don't think of that. Don't think that happens. But if they don't close it, anything can come in. And anything does come in, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's the scary thing is people don't educate themselves in the dangers of playing with divination tools.
Yeah, that's why, we have a ghost conference here on the West Coast in Oregon, the Oregon Ghost Conference every year, and I usually will teach a class and try to educate, how to protect themselves, how to, investigate without, causing a lot of problems, and how it opens portals and for them to close the portal, and it works quite well. People have, they think, I said, you have to use protection when you go and investigate. I said, you're walking into an open field, so to speak, and you have to have some form of protection in case you run into something that's not so nice. And it's surprising the things that people think that will protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to laugh.
Like crystals and...
Yeah, crystals, white salt, things like...
what about black salt?
Now, black salt will protect you.
That's what I thought.
When I was doing... when I first started doing removals, God said, listen, you need something to help protect you, to help protect the people that you're helping against the negatives returning. He says, I want you to create a black salt. I didn't know what black salt was. I never even heard of it. And he's like, this is the ingredients for the black salt. And with each step of the making of it, I will bless it. And so I've been making that for like 30, 40 years. And it really does help because his energy is in it and Ariel's angelic energy is in it. Mm-hmm. So it's different than the black salt you'll get at, whatever. But it's never failed yet. I have a sister group that I formed in England, and the girls there have bought cremation necklaces, and they fill it with black salt. And they'll go on an investigation, and they can always tell when there's something negative because the necklace heats up. It's almost too hot to touch.
Oh, wow.
And that's when it's protecting. And they're like, they're both the three that I have over there that are in the group. They're all, psychics, they're all mediums. But, if they can't feel it, they know it before they even get to the location because the necklaces will heat up.
That's so interesting how it works out.
Yeah, it's good protection. People think, well, I bought some black salt from Hawaii or something like that. I'm like,
not the same.
I'm like, how's that working for you?
Yeah, not quite the same. You brought up tarot cards. What about Ouija boards?
Same thing.
A lot of people play with Ouija boards.
A lot of people do. And it, like anything, it's all about having protection, how you use it, the intent behind the use of it. If your intention is to, summon up a demon or get into contact with a demon, then it's going to happen. I mean, that's what you're going to do. But if your intention, if you go in and say a prayer and ask for protection before you do any of these things, and ask for God's protection, and then do the communication or whatever, and then ask God to close the portal afterwards, and you're fine. But if you don't use any kind of protection, if you go in with the idea to summon a demon or something negative, then that's what you're going to get. It's all about the intention.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case with any tool that you use. It's really all about your intention.
Exactly. When I died,
there can be dangers to any of them if your intentions are harmful or
if they're negative, if your intentions are negative. One of the things I learned on the other side is that thought becomes reality.
Oh, I believe that, yes.
And in their world, Michael and I were talking, and he said, in our world, as in the darkness, thought becomes reality. It is the intention which gives the thought power and makes it become reality. He says, if I think about, Venezuela, then I'm in Venezuela. If I can be in 1,000 places at the same time, he says. It's because there is no distance here. It's like a party line. He equated it to something I would understand. It's like, he says, remember those old-fashioned party lines? I said, yeah, I remember seeing things about those. And he's like, it's kind of like that. You can be on the party line with, a couple thousand people and give your attention to each one at the same time.
That's crazy. It's really neat, though, if you think about it, because they are always communicating with us.
Yeah.
And it's really as accessible as a thought, as saying something in your mind, your heart, or out loud.
Well, it's like it says in the Bible, for those who have ears to hear, let them hear. Not everyone wants to hear it.
So what would you consider, well, you're specifically talking about demons, but negative entities in general, what would a negative entity be?
There are human spirits that are negative. They were nasty in life, and if they don't ascend completely and they stay stuck, then their physical consciousness will be the same. Their emotions will be the same. They'll be nasty, and they can cause all kinds of problems. And it's not just demons that can hurt you. I mean, human spirits can hurt you too if they have enough power behind it. They can do it. And people don't think ghosts can hurt you, but let me tell you, they can hurt you.
I was going to say, I don't believe that at all. I believe that they could.
You'd be surprised the amount of people that don't believe it. It's like demons. Oh, they can't hurt you. I'm like, yeah, wait till you get thrown across the room. Then you tell me they can hurt you. Or I had a friend that I was called in on a removal. The man and wife had moved into this house like 2 years prior. And his wife never had a sick day in her life. And from the moment they moved into the house, she suddenly got cancer. Not just any cancer, a cancer that's like 1 in 10 million. And it moved fast. And she would tell him, I'm hearing things, I'm feeling things. And he didn't really take her seriously. And then she died. And he said, then things started, I started to get pulled out of bed. I started to be scratched. I got shoved down the stairs. He said, all these things were happening. He said, and somehow I knew my wife hadn't left. And I came in, I said, well, yeah, she's trapped here by the demon. I said, you have a demon that was entombed in the ground. I said, this demon is not nice. I said, it's an old demon. I said, that's why your wife had the cancer. I said, because these things can cause all kinds of health, financial, relationship problems. That's what they do. That's their MO. And he's got nothing better to do with his time. And I've always wondered why certain places are like, people say, oh, don't ever go there. This place is never meant to be lived on. It's nothing good happens here. Only bad happens. So when my friends I was leading the way up the stairs because I knew where the demon was. And my friends were behind me. And one of them is a minister. And he's like, it feels like something's squeezing my heart. Like I'm going to have a heart attack. And I slapped the demon back for that because I knew that's what he was doing. And then he tried to push the guy's wife down the stairs. And I stopped that. And I'm like, got him into a corner. And then Michael appeared and he grabbed him from behind. I said, you will tell me why you're here, what you're doing here. And he's like, I'm not going to tell you anything. And I'm like, really? And Ariel came forward and she pulled out a white light sword. She said, I could kill you. It's not a problem. Tell me. And he said, I was entombed here by Lucifer. I went against him. And he told me if I ever returned that he would kill me. And I said, guess what? You're getting sent back to where you belong. And I'm not going to kill you. Lucifer is going to do it all by himself. No problem there. And the boys sent him back. And so that's what happens when there's an area like that. It's like Alcatraz. I went to Alcatraz. It's like there's an old demon underneath the rock. It's under it, and it's entombed there. And as long as it's there, and I'm not going to take it out, I just left it there, but as long as it's there, it will attract other demons. I went into cell number 13 in solitary confinement and removed the demon that was in there, and then there was 2 in the basement in the laundry area, and I removed those. But I'm like, you know what, it's cleaned out for now, but it'll always attract others.
Mm-hmm.
First thing I got in there, and there's this guy, kind of looked like Peter Lorre, and I'm going into cell block A, and he's like, hey you, and I'm like, what? He's like, you gonna help us? I'm like, maybe. Nah, you're going to help us. It looked like Peter Lorre, for God's sakes. And he said, you'll help us. Maybe. Don't bug me. So I walked around the rest of the area and then got to solitary confinement. D block, B for demon.
Uh-huh.
It was quite interesting. A lot of characters there, a lot of busy souls there.
Oh, I'm sure. The energy there is just crazy.
Yeah.
When I went there, it was like my skin was on fire.
Uh-huh.
It's a very interesting place, no doubt about that. But I'm curious, if you're just living your life and going about your own business, how do these demons come to you? There's a lot of innocents that are just doing their day-to-day thing, but they have these experiences with the darker energies.
Something will attract them either there. So I tell people, I said, you're either in the wrong place at the right time, or they're attracted to you because there's some sort of substance abuse, mental issues, physical abuse, dealing with the dark arts, don't believe in a higher power or God, and doing things you shouldn't do. I said, those are the reasons, some of the reasons they find you. And I tell people, if you ever run into a dark entity on your investigation, I said, absolutely do not acknowledge it. To acknowledge it is to make it see you. And once it sees you, it's on.
So they don't see you until you give them acknowledgement.
Right. If they're looking around and, they're always around somewhere and they're just like, wandering around looking for trouble. And if they walk by you and you don't say anything, like you don't see them, you pretend you don't see them, then they just keep going. But if you say, wow, I think I saw a shadow person or whatever, and then they turn around, they look at you and they're like, we're going to have some fun here. Yeah, we're going to have fun.
No.
So it's best not to acknowledge them whatsoever. But sometimes it's hard not to because they're in your face.
Right.
Right.
But once you do acknowledge them, is there... Well, actually, let's just ask this question from the chat room because this is in line with what I was going to ask. Why do some spirits exist in people's homes, and is there any way to ask them to leave?
That's funny, because if people could see what I see, what I've always seen all my life, is I can be in a room and I can see all the traffic, the spirit traffic that's there. Not only heavenly traffic, but also souls that are just kind of coming and going. And if I pay attention to them, I can hear all these conversations going on. But I've learned over the years to just tune them out. If one of them wants my help, then they'll ask me for it. But they're everywhere. I mean, there's hundreds
Right.
of them. There's probably 20 or 30 in everybody's house because they just wander through.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the earthbound ones, the ones that are moving things, and you hear the steps and the creaking of the floors and things like that, those are usually earthbound spirits, and they're either trapped, they can't find their way home, or they have unfinished business, or they're drawn to a location just because they like the energy, or something is similar to what they had when they were alive. It's, you can sit down, and like my grandma used to say, just sit down and talk to them. Say, hey, I know you're here. I know you want to go home. He said, look for the light. Just look for the light. I said, I tell people you can even in your mind create a white light tunnel. And they'll go into it because 9 times out of 10, they just want to go home. They don't really want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you'll get one every now and then that wants to stick around because they're waiting for someone, they're waiting for their other half or their brother or whatever, or they want to help the living find who killed them, or, they have unfinished business. And you can, like I said, just sit down and talk to them. Say, hey, come on. I know you're here. I know you're dead. Do you know you're dead? You are, so you need to go to light.
Right, because they don't always know, do they?
No, they don't. Some of them, I ran into a case where it was up in La Grande, Oregon, and a friend of mine had said, we need to visit this. My friend, she's having problems in the house. The footsteps, floors creaking, things like that. So the minute I hit the patio, I knew what was there. And she opened the door. I said, I need to go into your living room there. I said, there's somebody I need to talk to in there. So I went in there, and there's an old guy sitting in this recliner. And I'm like, what's up? Why are you still here? And he's like, I don't know how to get home. And I'm like, what happened? And he said, I was sitting in my recliner, and my chest started to hurt. And the next thing I know, everything went black. He said, when I woke up, I saw my son and daughter-in-law talking about renting out my home. I tried to talk to them. I tried to reach them, but they couldn't see me. They couldn't hear me. And he said, and the next thing I know, they're renting out my house. And the people they're renting to are not taking care of it. And I'm like, well, what about the 2 ladies that are here now? And he's like, yeah, they like my house. They love my house. They're taking good care of it. I said, then why do you need to stay? I said, if they're taking good care of it and they will, then it's time for you to go. I said, what happened to you was you went into a form of shock. That's why everything went black. I said, now you need to go and be with your wife and your parents. Once he realized that he could be with his parents and his wife, he decided to cross.
Oh,
But,
wow.
he hadn't a clue. He didn't know where to go, or it's like he missed the train, so to speak.
Right.
He
He didn't see the light.
Right. And it's like,
Yeah.
I said, I created a white light tunnel for him, and he went home.
Oh, wow. I really enjoy stories like this. It's neat that you're able to assist the spirit world in that way. We're going to take our top of the hour break, you guys. Next hour is commercial free, so you'll want to be here because I know June has more stories for us, and I have a lot of questions. And if you have any questions, make sure you join the chat room at kgraradio.com. We'll be right back.
For the thousands of wounded warriors returning from battle, Wounded Warrior Project has developed the Warriors to Work program, a career counseling service that helps wounded warriors translate their military experience to a civilian job. These extraordinary men and women bring more than just teamwork and inspiration to the workplace. They bring proven world-class job skills. And to ensure proper placement, Wounded Warrior Project works with employers to find just the right job fit. Talented, skilled, and eager to get back to work, you have the opportunity to hire a seasoned veteran. Contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to, so I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 945-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. That's 945-882-7221. Or go to the website angioprim.com.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Soul Wanderings on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, Salt Lake City, Utah, Hudson Valley, New York. And Soul Wanderings can be found on all of the listening platforms you choose. We're there. Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all of them. And my shows are available for replay on soulwanderings.com. If you guys are enjoying the show, share with your best pals, please, and thank you. Tonight we are visiting with June Lundgren, a psychic medium, animal communicator, healer, nurse, demon seer, international paranormal investigator, and an author of 8 books, over 40 years of experience in the paranormal field. Quite the resume, darling. So many things.
I try to keep busy.
Yeah. Before the break, you were talking about assisting a spirit home or a soul home. There's definitely a difference.
Right.
Tell me about attachment to the location.
Oh yeah.
There are, like you said, you see many spirits everywhere you go. Mm-hmm. They're obviously there for a reason.
Yeah, I went to California, went on board the Queen Mary.
Oh, the haunted Queen Mary.
Yeah, I went with my husband and my son, and he had a friend he brought along, and that's a big place. We were like looking, and we got lost because it's so huge. You know, we're wandering around, we got lost. We ended up in the part where the hotel is, and I'm like, my husband and I got, we're lost. We're just completely lost. He says, you got to find somebody. You got to find somebody to ask directions. I said, why is it always me that has to find somebody to ask directions? You know how it is, guys. You know that. And I'm like, fine. So here comes this guy down the hallway towards us, and he's wearing a vintage bellboy suit. And I'm like, excuse me. He's like, what? Me? I said, yeah, you. He said, you can see me? I said, of course. I said, where's the first class pool? We want to visit the first class pool. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. He said, well, if you help me to cross, I'll tell you where the pool is. I'll show you the way. I'm like, deal. So he led us to where he's like, My husband's looking at me like, who are you talking to? Are you talking to a spook again? I'm like, be quiet. I'm getting directions. He's like, you are. I'm like, you would really like this guy. I told him. He says, I'll take your word for that. So I helped him to cross. We got to the first class pool. It was quite interesting. And then we found a small ballroom. It was quite interesting, beautiful hand-carved stuff. And my husband's a woodworker, so he just loves that sort of stuff. And suddenly I heard music, and I saw this couple dancing, ballroom dancing. And I'm watching them for a while, and my husband's looking at the wood carvings, and they come over to me. I said, do you need help? And they said, no, we're good. I said, oh, okay. The husband said, we met on this boat. We spent every year together of our anniversary on this boat. And we always said that we would come back and stay here when we died. And he said, so we've been here for quite some time. He says, we're enjoying ourselves dancing to the band and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's a good thing. And he says, and the husband says, we'll come and get you when we need you. We know where to find you. I'm like, okay, that's cool. My husband's like, more spooks? I'm like, yeah.
Is that what he calls them? Spooks?
Yeah, he calls them spooks. More spooks.
So they know that you have this ability when you're...
yeah. Yeah, you're like a candle in the dark. They're attracted to you. And, they see you. And where they don't see anybody else, they'll see you. And if they want to talk to you or they need help, then they're, they'll come to you. It's one night I was coming out of work, and it was winter. Of course, it was winter. And I was going to my car, and the clinic where I'm working at has a street that's 1 block long, and behind it is a cemetery. Big surprise. But here's this demon standing at the end of the road. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, it's like something out of the OK Corral or High Noon, something like that. The old gunslinger thing. I'm like, really? I looked at him and said, really? Do you really want to die tonight? Is that it? Is that why you're bothering me? I said, go away or I will kill you. Then it turned and walked away. I'm like, really? Give me a break. Another time I was coming home, and it was dark, and I'm coming down the hill. It's like almost a 90-degree hill. And I hear this sound, and it's one I'd never heard before. It was bizarre. It's like, like wings and like castanets. Like, what the heck is that sound? I'm slowly going down the hill, looking around, trying to see if I can see whatever it is. And my spirit guide, which is my cousin, not my cousin, my sister, she's like, really? She says, look behind you in the rearview mirror, and you'll see what it is. But don't acknowledge it. I'm like, I'm not stupid. And I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw these things. They reminded me of the harpies, Greek harpies in Greek mythology. Mm. I'm like, what the heck?
That's freaky.
It is. I had never seen one of those before.
Yeah,
like
no, thank you.
Every now and then they surprise me, and it's like, I says, what are they up to? She's like, nothing good. Just keep driving.
No.
So it's like, oh, okay, fine. I'll just keep driving, But people don't understand that demons evolve. People think demons are demons and they always stay the same, but they don't. They evolve. Just like, beings in heaven evolve. Demons evolve. They can...
How do they do that?
It's kind of weird. First time I saw one that had evolved a bit was about 10 years ago. I was at a location, and usually we have what they call the creepy crawlies, the little dudes that are annoying, and they can turn themselves into spiders and whatever else you don't like. And one of those guys was different, and I'm watching him, and it's almost like he looked like half banshee and half some sort of creature. And I'm like, really? What the heck? Michael says, that's one that's evolving. You can tell. And I said, yeah, because it doesn't look like anyone I've ever seen before. He said, yeah, they do evolve. It's like, he says, I don't know why they feel the need to do that, but they every now and then they do. So I'll see. I've encountered about 10 of them so far, this year's, but it's just kind of weird. It's like most of them are happy with the way they are, but yeah, every now and then you get ones that are kind of doing their own thing. And I'm like, okay, whatever you say.
So you talk about evolving. Can they go from being negative dark energies to a light energy?
No.
Can they evolve in that way?
No, they don't usually evolve in that way. But you're onto something that people don't understand, that that demons are not all dark. There is a spark of light in each and every one of them, but at one time or another, something will spark that light and it will flare. And 9 times out of 10, they will squish it down because they don't want to go there.
It's uncomfortable for them.
Yeah, it is. And it's
uncomfortable for a lot of humans also.
Yep. About 7 or 8 months ago, I had one come to me. Well, there was a place in Illinois where I was helping a friend with, and I helped him move out of it. I put protection in it when he first moved into the building because there was like a lot of demonic activity. It's like, this is my place and you're not getting it and all this stuff. So I cleared it out. So went and put protection around it. And then when he moved out of it, the demons that were there were bugging me to get back in there. And the guy that owned it's a real creep anyway. So it's like, okay, fine. Have yourself fun. I'll take away the protection. You can go party. So one of them, I'll call him Herb. One of them came to me and said, he was different. He wasn't dark like they normally are. He was a lighter shade of gray. And I'm like, what's up with you? He's like, I need your help. He's talking to Ariel, not me. And he's like, Ariel, I need your help. And she's like, why? What do you want from me? And he says, I want to do something good. She's looking at him like, really? And he's like, I'm sincere in this. He says, I want to be a bridge between the living and the darkness. I'm like, Ariel's like, good luck on that one. He's like, no. He says, I want you to talk to Lucifer to see if he would be willing to let me try. And Ariel's like, really? And he's like, please, I'll owe you. It's like, so Lucifer has a lot of respect for Ariel. People don't understand there is a hierarchy and there is respect. Just because you don't like him doesn't mean you don't respect him. Mm. So she went to Lucifer and said, listen, Herb wants to do this. And I think he's sincere and I think he'd do a good job. And then Lucifer said, if the old ones agree, because they're the defining group, if they agree, then we'll let him try. So a couple days later, Lucifer said, it's okay. They're going to let him do it. So I'm like, cool. Ariel's cool. And Herb's like, I owe you. I'm like, yeah, I know you do. But he seems to be doing well with it. I check in on him from time to time. And he is helping. I've given him a couple of cases to go in on to help people with. And he's been good about it. So.
Wow. What a story. What a story. I have so many questions. I'm trying to, the show is going by so fast. I want to make sure I get them in, but you brought up earlier that these negative energies can hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
They can throw you around. They can
stop your heart.
All sorts of things. Mm-hmm. How would you protect yourself if something like that was happening? And can they influence you, not only hurt you, but can they influence you and the experiences, like the people around you as well?
Yeah, people don't understand that if a demon is attached to an individual person or has picked them out as a target and attached themselves, they do not only affect the individual person, but they affect everyone surrounding the person, everyone that's closest to the person.
Mm-hmm.
They make your health go downhill. They put your finances in the toilet. They will isolate you from any support system that you have. They'll cause arguments between, spouses, between partners, anything they can do to make your life miserable. And in doing so, they influence you all the time. They do it so often, and they can influence you to do things that you normally would never do, like, hurt someone or drive your car like 200 miles an hour over a cliff or whatever. They do have a lot of influence. To protect yourself, you need to prayer is a powerful thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But before we go into protection, I was just thinking, how would you even know that you were being influenced by an entity versus just having, a bad relationship or bad luck in general? Like if you weren't sensitive to knowing there was an energy around.
Well, the thing is, most people, demons don't normally influence you 24/7. Okay,
so you're in and out of
right.
awareness of something.
There are brief times when they're influencing you, and then they're off doing something else, and then they come back. But during the times when they leave you, you'll feel the difference within yourself, or you'll say, "What the heck? That my wife didn't do anything. Why am I acting like this? What's going on?" And they'll begin to think about what's been going on and how they've been acting, and then they'll think, "Oh, something's not right. Something's not right." Then they'll talk to their significant other or whatever, and say, "Have I been acting weird? What's going on?" And the person, if they're still around, will talk to them, and they'll say, you're not right. Something's going on. I think we need help, that sort of thing. And then the demon will come back, and it'll not want you to get help. But, your guides and guardians for both of the people involved will work it so that you end up getting help, that you end up connecting with someone who can help you. It's all about like a giant chessboard. They put you in the right place at the right time to get help. And when they do it, the demons don't know it because they do it so subtly that the demons are not even aware of it, which is good. It's a saving grace there. Once you can get help, then you can get rid of the thing. But unfortunately, a lot of people suffer for years.
Yeah.
And don't get any help, and it's horrible. Their life is, they can lead you to do, drugs, violence, all kinds of things, that we would never normally do.
Right. Totally out of character.
Yep.
I own a mind, body, spirit shop and healing center where I'm at. And we have a customer / client who comes in regularly, who's had continuous issues at home, and his health, you can see it's just the
declining.
Oh, it's horrible. And his sister also lives in the home. It was his father's home who's passed, but his sister's been in and out of the hospital. They both have been really sick. Their finances have declined. They're still working, but they just like it's been really bad. The
better,
heaviness.
Yeah.
And they come in to buy sage, and I'm always telling them that's not the way you want to do this. All you're going to do is antagonize them and irritate them and make them off. Yeah, piss them off. That's what you're. But they, everyone thinks they know how to do it, and you have to allow them to trust their own intuition and do it their own way, because they're not going to listen until
they're
ready.
And so
Yeah,
they're
but
desperate.
it brings me to a question that we have in the chat room. What can an average person with no knowledge do to remove a spirit from their house?
I don't. If it's an earthbound spirit, no biggie.
It's way different than a
Yeah,
demon.
you can sage. You can tell them, get the hell out of my house.
Yeah.
You can just be firm and take control of your house. When it's a demon, no amount of talking is going to help you. If it's an inhuman, the only thing, the power of prayer is really powerful. And invoking the name of whatever deity you believe in. Some people Buddha, some people Shiva, whatever. And, and
or call on your guardian angels,
right.
even.
Yeah, they can help you to a certain extent. They can get you help. They're not powerful enough to stop a demon, but they can get you in the right place at the right time to find someone. But yeah, to sage it just pisses them off because they know you're trying to get rid of them, and they know know that they're there. So the best thing to do is to find somebody. If they go to church, a clergy, if they can get in touch with like a demonologist or a deliverance minister, or somebody like me, then they can get help. But otherwise they suffer for years with this stuff, and it's horrible. It's just horrible. But if you're just,
it really can be.
Yeah, it can really kill your life altogether.
Unfortunately, we don't. I mean, I have a lot of amazing practitioners in my space, but when it comes to the heavier stuff, I have learned through the many years of working in this community that this is a whole different realm in and of itself.
It is, yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's not for everybody, and because stop and think about it. What idiot would want to deal with these guys? It's either a calling, you got to be crazy, but it's either a calling or it's not.
Yeah.
And with me, because Ariel's inside of me, it's always there. It's 24/7 with her. And so there is no options. You do it. It's God's work. You do it. And it really bothers me when I come across fake demonologists and people that charge people money to remove demons. It's like, this is God's work. It's not, oh yeah, pay me $1,000 and I'll do it.
Yeah, that is one thing. Yeah, that is one thing that I struggle with even in my own business of practitioners and what they choose to charge for energy work and readings and all kinds of things.
Yeah,
we're meant to assist each other.
Yeah, that's why I tell people. I said, my only payment for it is for you to pass on the good deed.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Help somebody who needs help, and that's payment enough for me.
We're talking about the dark side of paranormal, so we can go on even different roads as far as negative entities and stuff. But what about curses? when someone or something,
I always have to laugh. I have to laugh.
Are they
when
even
people
real?
talk about that. It's a curse. Isn't what you think it is. What we think it is, where somebody says, I curse your family for here to eternity.
Yeah.
Before I die, But that's not what it is. That has no power. It's actually, that's a couple things. It can be the person that dies and is saying the curse cannot ascend. They can be earthbound, and they can make that person's life miserable. Or, and then if they die, they can make the next one's life miserable, and so on and so forth. Or it can be a demonic attachment where it will move from, say, the great-grandfather to the grandfather to the father to the son, because they're eternal. They can just keep doing it, keep going, making the whole lineage miserable and holding on to the souls. So that's what really a curse is.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, what about witches? Do you believe in witchcraft?
There are good. I have friends that are Wiccans. I don't have an issue with that. They love nature and stuff, and I'm good with that.
They believe in a positive.
Right. But the dark arts, that's a whole other situation there.
Yeah.
I was called in once because this guy had an employee, and the employee was Cuban, and he had to lay her off because he had no option. He was losing business, and she was the last one that was hired. And so what she did was she went to a dark practitioner, and she says, I'm going to pay you this money. I want you to put a demon on this person. And the guy's, no problem, I'll do that. So I got a call from him, and he's like, this is what's going on. Any way you can help me? And I'm like, okay, do you happen to have a picture of the person, the individual? And he's like, yeah, I got a picture. I said, well, send it to me. So when that happens, once I look at the picture of the individual that bought the service, so to speak, I can see literally where they went, who they went to. And once I find who they went to, I pull the demon off of the individual, and I put the demon on the one that summoned it and said, how do you like it?
So you return to sender.
Yep. I have no qualms about that. None whatsoever. You're going to play with fire, you're going to get burnt. And to this day, he still has it. He still has that demonic attachment.
So do you believe in like setting up mirrors in your space to deflect that kind of energy coming your way, to send it, whatever's being thrown at you, and sending it back to the sender?
There's a way where you can just, surround yourself within your mind of all these mirrors, that all the negative energy is reflected back away from you and towards the individual that's sending it. But that's a good thing to do. There's a lot of people that do nasty things to people, and summon demons. They do all kinds of things, and then you get the people who, I had one client that's like, really, he contacts me and he's like, I have this succubus and I need to get rid of it. And I'm talking to him and I'm like, no, you don't. You want it to stay. And I told him that. I tell it like it is. I said, you're not willing to get rid of this thing. It feeds your ego. You're happy, blah, blah, blah. I said, don't give me that. I said, when you're ready to have it removed, then you'll call me. I said, until then, you're going to have to live with it, because I'm not dealing with it, because you won't let go of it. So, a year later, I get an email. Help. I'm like, yeah, are you ready now? Huh?
He's ready.
It's like, yeah, when it takes over your life. And yeah, I think so. But
so is there anything that shocks you when people come to you and say they have such and such going on? Or when you're actually clearing the energy, have you had anything that has really thrown you for a loop?
No, I've had things that have intrigued me, like the one place it was kind of interesting because there was an elemental there. There were Indian spirits that were trying to protect the people in the house. And there was a portal. And his backyard shed was sitting on top of a portal.
Oh, boy.
And it's like, it was a hodgepodge of things. That's where that demon was entombed in the ground. And I told the owner, I said, come over here. Put your hand on this shed. He's like, it's vibrating. I said, yes, it's sitting on top of a portal. I said, it's going to vibrate. I might have to close the portal. And the Indians came through and said, we tried to protect him, but we couldn't. And they thanked me for doing that. And the little gnome guy, the elemental, I'm like, really? Go back to the forest. You don't need to be hanging out here. He was curious more than anything. It's like, I'm going to watch and see what's going on here. He's like, I'm like, go away. But I found some weird things.
Also.
Oh yeah, they're kind of cool. When I went to Scotland, I saw some fairies, and it was quite cool. And a couple of gnomes, and it's like, that's interesting. You have to take everything, keep an open mind, and just take in what you see, and you talk to them. You talk to them, and they'll let you know what's going on and what their purpose is and why they're there and stuff like that. And like I said, my grandmother always said you have to keep an open mind because, as Shakespeare said, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. There's always something different. Always. Things evolve. Things happen. You can never get complacent because there's always another twist, another turn. And I enjoy that because it keeps things lively.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes.
It does. And, it's like I never have to worry about being bored between writing my books, and I live on a farm, and working full time as a nurse. It's like there's never enough hours in the day. And then, I have a removal to do this Saturday. It's never ending. They just keep coming.
Do you feel like because of everything that is happening in our existence right now, I don't talk politics, so I won't go there, but that energy and everything that is going along with all the movements, all the things like that, is it bringing up more of that demon energy?
It is. It's bringing up more negative. You think about it. There's all this fear. There's all this depression. There's all this anxiety. These are all negative emotions. See, this negative energy brings them, and that's why I'm busier than ever right now. I mean, in 2018, the Vatican came out and told Newsweek, we're training more exorcists because of the increase in possession cases. I'm like, I could have told you guys that back in 2013, but you wouldn't have listened to me. I've been telling people since 2013, things are on the rise. Things are increasing. It's only going to get worse.
Do you see that type of energy, like puppeting these different people that are in the limelight?
Yeah, there are two people that are in the limelight that have the most power, shall we say. And you stop and think about it. If a demon wants to influence somebody, why wouldn't he influence somebody who has, so many followers, like, say, J. Edgar Hoover and like Pope whatever, the 22nd or whatever. If you got people like that and you're influencing them, I mean, you really have a captive audience. If you stop and think about it, you can, these are people with power.
Right.
And you can influence a lot more than just one or two people. So it's all about that. It's all about, power influencing,
I feel like the energy is just, well, obviously even a person who wasn't in touch with their intuitive side could feel the energy was ick, but it feels like a thick, black, sticky tar. Like
it is.
Everywhere. Like it's just stuck on everything.
When you do 21 removals in a week, there's issues. It's ridiculous. But, I never turn anybody down.
That is a lot. Are you able to do them long distance, or do you need to be at the physical location?
No, I've done them as far away as the Netherlands. I got a request today from England. So it's like in Australia. I've done them as far away as Australia.
Are you able to remote view?
I know what's the minute the person sends me a picture of themselves or the location, I know it's there. I know how to get rid of it, and I don't tell it I'm coming. I don't tell them when I'm going to do it until after it's done. That way, because they know, if the client knows, then they know.
Right, exactly.
And they can be prepared, or they can leave. And I've had that happen where, the demon will leave, and then I get there, it's not there. Then you have to wait for it to come back. You have to choose another time. You tell the client, don't say anything. Don't even think about it. I'm not going to tell you when I'm coming back. We'll just do it.
So I was talking about mirrors earlier and things that could protect us. What are some things that the common person would think would protect us, like sage. They think that, but that's not really the case. What about like crystals or incense resins or?
Yeah, they think that crystals will save them. They think Eye of Horus. They think all kinds of, different symbols that will help them. But none of that means anything to demons. It's like toys. It's like you might as well just, throw marshmallows at them. It doesn't do anything. Holy water is good to seal your home with. You use it or anointing oil. You use it over the entrances, over your windows and doors and things like that. But you don't want to use it until after, everything is cleared out. Because if the entity is still there, you're just trapping it inside, and it's going to increase. It's going to get nasty. It's going to be really nasty. Yeah, because then you're trapping it, and it can't go anywhere, and so it's going to make your life even more miserable. But those things will help. Prayer is powerful. Getting someone, clergy, somebody to come, deliverance ministers, something like that. It's all about, it's all about knowing where to get help, knowing what you can use for protection. If you can use a cross, but the cross has to have a image of Jesus on it, and it can't be an abstract image. It has to be like a lifelike image on it. Plain cross will not help you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the plain cross won't help you. It's the image of Jesus that actually has the power, holds the power within it. And let's see what else. My black salt will protect you. White salt won't do the trick. It'll help you for earthbounds, but it won't help you for demons.
What about like herbs and oils?
Good luck on that one. No. Although you'll piss them off if you use sandalwood. If you burn sandalwood.
Really?
Yeah, because it's what they use in That's what they use in exorcisms.
Oh, they don't use like frankincense and myrrh. I know that sounds silly, but
no, they use. God told me that's a part of my black salt. He says I want you to use, the sandalwood as well, and I said why? And he's because it's used in, the exorcisms. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Okay, I'll use it. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to come. It's hard to come by. I have to send for it. It's like long distance. Those are about the only things that can really help you. I mean, you can do things to like get them out of your house, like I said, burning the sandalwood will do it. Some people, to protect themselves, the Indians believe that you can take a bag of tobacco and put it under your pillow, and that will protect you. Like I said, it's all about the intention in your thought. If you believe that stick over there will protect you, then it's going to protect you. If you have any doubts about it, you're screwed. Just plain and simple. It's just not going to work. But I have a new book coming out in December. It's called Demon Seer, The Beginning. And in it are two very important chapters. The chapter on protection and the chapter on where to go to get help. I have connected with the Johnson twins, their deliverance ministers, and I have their information in the book. They've told me, yeah, put it in there. People need help. The Archbishop of the Order of St. Michael of Exorcists out of LA says, yeah, put it in there. Put my information in there. I have several people, deliverance ministers, that all this information is going in the book to help people, because too many times people don't know where to go to get help.
Right. They
and
don't.
I want to put that in there. The whole first volume, this is the first volume. It's called Demons Here, The Beginning, because it's about bringing awareness of how these things work, what they are, how they work, how to help yourself, what they can do to you, how they, all the behind the scenes stuff. And it's written, I completed it like in December of last year, but then I realized that this is done in a manner that only paranormal people understand. And that's not what I want to do. And my son says, Mom, just dumb it down. And I'm like, you're right. I have to make a simple book that, where people can get information out of it, where they can understand it. I want the people that may have had an experience and don't know where to go, or may have had an experience and want more information, or somebody else that, has a curiosity about it but doesn't know anything about it. So the book is very simplified so that you can read it. A person that knows nothing about the paranormal can read it and get what it's all about, understand where it's coming from, I explain, all the different things in it. I mean, what a demon is, why it is that way, how it became that way, just down to the fine print. And I believe people really need that to help them.
I do. I just don't feel like people talk about it enough.
They don't.
So on the down low, and when they have actual experiences, they really don't know where to turn to.
Exactly.
They just turn into fear and allow that fear to control them, which we all know that just feeds the energy.
Yeah.
And so that book sounds like it would be perfect go-to for anyone who is needing that type of assistance. When did you say it was getting released?
Should be out the end of December.
Oh, wow.
My friend's been nagging me for years to do a Body, Mind, Spirit Expo. So I'm like, okay, fine. So one year I decided to do a Body, Mind, Spirit Expo and be bored out of my mind. But doing it...
I know that feeling.
But in doing it, you get to give a lecture. And my friends are like, oh, do something about angels and stuff. I said, no, hell no, I'm not doing that. I want to do something about the dark side. Nobody ever talks about it. I said, people need to be educated. So I decided that was what I was going to talk about. And I was talking to someone, and I suddenly realized that I was, a couple of minutes late for my lecture. So I go rushing into the room, and there's standing room only. And I'm like, oh, crap. So I didn't think it would be that popular. And then I did a 45-minute talk on it. And then people kept coming by, thanking me for talking about it and trying and educating them. And I had my books there at the time. I had like 4 books out. And you need to do a book. You need to do a book. I'm like, okay. So I sold out of my books in the first hour after the lecture. And so that's when I decided to do the dark side of the paranormal, because in it, people need to know that there is help, that, demons have fears, demons have weaknesses. They don't want you to know what they are, but I gave away all their ugly secrets in that book.
Good.
And they tried to stop me from doing it. I'm like, bite me. It's going out. You can just bite me. And it's the same thing with this one. They are trying to interfere. They always do. But it's not going to do them any good. That's the way it is.
Because of the way that you are towards them, like, I love your sass. You're like, bite me. Does that do anything for them? I was going to say, does that really piss them off, or what does that look like?
Badly, but they know they can't do anything to me, so it's like, so if I do a radio show or something like that, that will cause problems. Last year, I was on a radio show, and the guy says, I really want you on my show. So I did a show, and then, 6 months later, I got a hold of him to see how he was doing. He says, you know what? He says, after you were on my show, my whole system crashed. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, the whole system, the phones, everything crashed.
It was not comforting, June.
Irretrievable. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said, I'm sorry, the dark ones are out and about. And I said, don't worry about it. I said, it'll be fine. You'll be okay, and I'll do your show again. And it was, and I did my show again. I didn't have any problems. But so, I kind of have a tendency to, make sure that there's coverage on the other side when I'm doing shows. The first, I did a video years ago called Paranormal Crossings, and I was interviewed on it. There was another girl that was interviewed first, and then mine was the next one. And the first interview was great, wonderful. The guy did it he records it on Blu-ray, on his computer, and on the studio's computer. I kept waiting for mine to come out, Finally got a hold of him. I said, it's like almost a month later. I said, when's it going to be on TV? He's like, oh my God, he says, it's like it never happened. I'm like, he says, on all three things, nothing was recorded. And I started laughing. He said, aren't you mad? I said, no. I said, I deal with the dark ones. That's about par for the course. Because I was just talking about, light things during that interview. He says, can you come back and talk about the dark ones? I'm like, yeah. I said, Michael will come with me. And so I went back and filmed it. And Michael was there. And at about 30 minutes into the interview, you can hear a scream because I had felt a negative entity come into the studio. And Michael was there. I said, you got it? And he said, like, I got it. No problem. And it came in because it was following the other souls. Because when Michael's earthbound like that, they come, they want to go home. So they flow to him. And so he shot it down. But you can hear the demon scream as it's taken out. And about 30 minutes into
That's not what I would want to hear.
People like, he's listening to it, about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I get a call. You've got to see, listen to it. I'm like, in the morning, maybe. Go back to bed.
Like, I know what it sounds like.
Yeah. He's like, I was like, I know what it sounds like. Don't worry about it. People like freaking out.
Yeah. What's everyone's fascination with the dark side? Is it the not knowing?
I think it's because it's taboo.
Really?
Most people think it's taboo. It's like the difference between going out with a good boy and a bad boy.
Right.
Everybody wants to be a bad boy.
I've learned my lesson.
Yeah. When you get burnt, then it's like, oh, that was not such a good idea. But and it's a forbidden subject basically, and there's a lot of mystery about it. And like I said, that's why I'm all about bringing awareness and enlightenment about these beings, because the more people know about them, the less fear that's going to be, enclosed in it. The people, if if you reveal them, if you open them up so that to see what makes them tick, then people are going to say, oh, well, that's not so bad after all. I can do this, or I can take care of myself, or I'll know what to look for. They have fears. One of the greatest fear of a demon is of death, because when we die, we can come back again. When they are killed, there's nothing left. I've seen Ariel kill them. She slices through them with a white light sword, and they turn into dust, and the dust goes up into the stars. So they no longer exist. That's the difference.
They are able to be destroyed.
Oh yeah, they're able to be destroyed.
That was another question I had. Thanks for the reminder.
With a white light sword and an angelic energy. There are 8 of us archangels born into the world today. I know where all of them are but one. I've made them a connection with all but one, and it'll be a little while, and I'll find the last one. And my job is to help them understand who and what they are, and to help them make the connection. And once they make the connection, then it's great. I mean, they go and they start doing their job. They start being light workers. They start, creating a white light network of light workers. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility that was presented to you when you crossed.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, guess what we have for you to do? I'm like, oh, good. My life isn't complicated enough. You have to add that too?
Mm.
Michael just laugh. Michael just laughs. He thinks
I
it's
mean,
funny.
you got to have a sense of humor, right?
You do. I mean, what I do is dark, and it's like, I have a sense of humor about it. You got to have. Life is too stressful and too serious as it is. Lighten up a bit.
I agree. We do have another question from the chat room. If you're looking to buy a house, how does an average person ensure they are not buying a house with resident spirits?
Yeah, with people in
Do
residence
spirits
already.
come with a house or without?
They can. There are some states where it has to be that they have to notify you if it's a haunted house or if there's been a death
really?
in the house. Yeah, there's a few states like Oregon's one of the states that does. I can't remember. I think there's one. Maryland is another one. But yeah, they have to notify you if they know that there's a haunting. But the best way to do it is to walk through the house and see what you feel. If it feels heavy, if it feels like somebody's watching you, if you get the feeling somebody's watching you, something you hear footsteps, whatever, then you can say, okay, there are people that come with the house. Thank you. Appreciate that. And you just sage. If it's an earthbound spirit, you just sage and send them on their way home. So,
and I feel like most houses, if not all, would have some type of activity, even if it was brand new, because the land is old, no matter where we are at.
9 times out of 10, when people talk to me or contact me about, their home being haunted or whatever, it's the land. It's connected to the land. There's been like death on the land, or there's been, trauma of one kind or another, or there was a house there where an old house there where there's a new house now. People don't understand. This is a new house, but the land is forever.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look into that part of it as well. If you're going to buy a house, especially on the East Coast, you have to look into what's going on with the land. What used to sit there, what the history of the land. And if you do that, then you'll be aware of, well, there used to be a town here, or there used to be a house here, or a barn here, and it burnt down, or whatever. You have to look at everything, not just, oh, this house is nice, I'll take the house.
Right. There's land history no matter where you go.
Yeah, I live literally on the Oregon Trail. It's right out my front door.
So you have a lot of history by you.
Yeah, I had a little girl, the hitchhiker. First time she popped into my car, and nearly scared the bejeebers out of me. I'm like, really? Did you have to do that when I'm driving? She was like, braids, long braids, and she died on the Oregon Trail there. She died like a yard away, and she's like, I'm just looking at things. I'm happy. I'm like, okay, fine. I finally, after a year, managed to talk her into crossing, but she was like having too much fun to cross. But finally,
they do what they do, don't they?
Yep. It's like the little boy in the graveyard behind where I work. I was getting my nails done one Saturday. It was it was noon, and it was foggy, and I hear this little voice, come to the graveyard. And I'm like, no, I have an appointment. Come to the graveyard. And I'm like, really? Okay. So I go to the graveyard, and I'm like taking a picture of the deer, because there's a deer walking through it. Elk. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And I turn, and he says, no, over here. So I swing my cell phone around and take a picture, and I caught a picture of him. And then he drained the battery out of my cell phone. I'm like, really? You're lucky I carry a spare.
I've heard that happens, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I said, what do you want? My name's Edward. I'm like, okay, why don't you cross? No, I like the deer. I play with the deer. I'm having fun. Okay. I said, now, don't bother me when I'm working. You know that, right? Oh, okay. I said, you can talk to me when I'm on my lunch hour and I'm sitting there having my lunch. That's okay, but not during my work. He's like, okay. So we talk from time to time when he's not busy.
Well, that's really neat that you're able to communicate with all sides of the spirit world and able to assist in so many ways. It's been so neat getting to know you better. Thank you for spending so much time with us. What's that?
I'm just ornery.
Oh, I don't even feel that from you at all. But I can see how you might feel just the energies you have to work that you choose to work with, and it's still really neat. If our listeners were interested in getting in touch with you for services or getting to know more about you, how could they do that?
They can go to my website, demonseer.com or mysticconnections.org. And I'm on Facebook and Twitter. And there's a phone number I have a dedicated line for help on my website. And people need help, they can just contact me. And I usually make a connection within a couple days. Yet I get an overwhelming amount of mail right now, but I try to help everybody when I can. I was on. You can find my books at Amazon.com.
That was my next question. Yeah. Where can they get your books?
Amazon.com or Ingram Books. Either one of those will get you there, or Smashwords. Smashwords has them as well.
Well, again, seriously, thank you for your willingness to participate in the activities that you were told you were meant to do, because you could have chosen no. You could have said, no, I'm not doing it. And yet here you are assisting so many people, and it's obvious that the world needs you. So thank you for showing up, and thank you for sharing your time and energy here with us this evening. It has been an honor.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed my time. I always love talking to people.
It shows. I can feel that from you. Thank you. All right, everyone. Another fantastic show. Soul Wanderings can be found on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just go over to soulwanderings.com. You can connect to them from there. And I would really appreciate it if you shared the show with your friends and family, because as you know, I love soul wandering. I love having these conversations that bring awareness and connection into our experiences. It's always a great time being here and spending time with you. And when I say it's my favorite night of the week, I'm not kidding you. So thanks for hanging out. It's been really awesome. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Good night, Wonders.